Hey VC, John here. Had a very strange day today, which I'll tell you about in a moment. I did plan on making a few more videos, but I've been so pulled out at work that frankly when I get home at night I just want to listen to the music, to be honest. And I've been watching quite a few videos, not commenting as much as I used to do, but often using people's videos as the soundtrack to what I listen to when I get in. And one of LJ's very much put me in mind of that, really. I was sitting on the train and he was talking about Marillion, and I thought, I've got to be Marillion when I get in. Anyway, and I had planned this year to talk more about generally, how shall we say, themed videos, but to be honest, just haven't got a theme. So I'm going to talk about a few things I've picked up recently, not just records. And the first one of those, I had a birthday a few weeks ago, and once you get to a certain age, which I'm at, there's not that many things that you really want. That if you do want them, you go and buy them. So there's unless it's outrageous like an Aston Martin, which I really do want actually. If anybody's thinking they might want to buy me a gift, I'm not going to get myself. But my wife's quite good at picking stuff like that, and I was just talking about something that I spotted in a music magazine, and decided that she obviously bought it for me, and it's this anyway. It's what every record collector should have, and it's a record collecting bag, perfect for record fairs. But and it's by a company called this call themselves Original Peter, which I think was a jazz label, they named it after. But this is seriously heavy duty, and it's more like luggage than a bag, man bag as she keeps calling it. This is the medium sized one, which holds 25 albums, but it's heavy duty. It's supposed to last a lifetime. It's all leather, hand stitched. It's supposed to be military standard canvas, and even sent it with a record, which I've not even listened to yet. I'll show you this record. It's a bit bizarre looking thing anyway. It's what's this? Sounds Spectacular, Augusto Alguero and his orchestra. I can't imagine that's a rarity, but I could be wrong. Anyway, check these out on their website, which is it's not surprising. It's www.originalpeter.co.uk. When you see how much these things cost, you will realise that it is the sort of thing that only the person that really loves you and wants to buy something that you've got. But I wouldn't have gone out and bought this, I don't think. Probably not. It would be too extravagant. But have a look. Quite interesting. Then we went down to London last weekend and went in a record shop called FOP, and I just picked up this DVD. I went to a few record shops actually, but I picked this one. It's called Gill and the Glory Years, but it's actually in the UK there used to be a music programme, one of the rare music programmes called Rock Goes to College, and what they would do is they would go to there used to be like two types of university, for want of a better explanation: polytechnics, which were for people like me that didn't get amazing results, and then universities. And Rock Goes to College usually went to a polytechnic and filmed a band of the day, and I went to see when I was in the sixth form, I went to see Gillan probably 4 or 5 times altogether in less than 2 years. Spent more time listening to the music and following them than I did studying, which explained why I went to a traditional poly rather than a traditional university. They're all called universities now, and I will explain a little bit about that shortly after what I've been doing today. But this was filmed in February 1981, right in the middle of a tour that I actually went to see 2 other dates of. So it is a perfect record of a band that I was massively into when I was 18. And so it's Gillan, which is Ian Gillan, former lead singer of Deep Purple, John McCoy, who's a bit of a journeyman bass player, Colin Towns, who now does movie soundtracks, he's an excellent guitar player, Bernie Tormé, who at the time was the new Jimi Hendrix, but this was his high spot of his career, I would say, and Mick Underwood, who was a 60s drummer in a band called Episode 6 with Ian Gillan, and then they worked together again in Gillan. But it's just a really good DV, and the quality is excellent, so I've been enjoying that. There's a couple of bands we've got coming up. Rob Clark probably would appreciate this one. This is the band Churches. It's a young band. synth pop. We're going to see them. I bought this quite some months ago before there was a bit of a fuss about them really, and we're going to see these on the 10th of March, and then this is a real surprise. LJ will appreciate this. We've got tickets to go and see Daryl Hall and John Oates at Nottingham, and the weird thing about this is these are a band that me and my wife both together really like, but we particularly like the 70s stuff, Abandoned Luncheonette, more than the 80s pop stuff. And my brother-in-law sent me a message, it was my wife's birthday recently, saying, do you think Julia would like to see Hall and Oates? And I said, I didn't even know they were touring. I messaged him straight back. I said she'd love to go and see. And I was so gutted that I hadn't thought of this birthday present myself. But anyway, I said, can you get me a ticket as well? But Chris, being the nice bloke that he is, bought me one as well. So we're going to see Hall and Oates shortly. So that's that. And now a few records. Right, went down to London last week. These are in no particular order, different times. Picked up this. It's a reissue of a Cramps album. The Cramps were predominantly Lux Interior and Poison Ivy. A married couple. Lux unfortunately died. Lux Interior was an abbreviation from American Car Ads, I believe. They are like a mad psycho B-52s, if you don't know what. Surf, bubble, rockabilly, so psychobilly. They're just a really weird band. And if you look at that picture, that sort of just about sums up everything you need to know about the Cramps. This is a reissue on, I think it's on Demon, or is it? I can't read that. I've got no chance of reading that without my glasses. I can do it in here. Right, it's on Big Beat Records, distributed through Ace. But it's a really nice reissue. This is, I think this was what year was this? I think this must have been about 2001. No, 1991, beg your pardon. But lovely album. I've listened to it a couple of times. I've got a couple of the Cramps albums. I've got A Date with Elvis, which is very good, and I've also got The Smell of Female. The thing is with the Cramps, the songs titles often sound a bit rude, but they aren't. They're like overtly rude. So an album called Smell of Female, people might draw an obvious conclusion from that, but it's got a live track called Faster Pussycat, which is absolutely atypical Cramps, and it's a brilliant album, a brilliant song off an excellent live album, an EP really, 6 tracks on it. This is the sort of thing that's on there. The first 3 tracks are called Dames, Booze, Chains and Boots. Second one's Two-Headed Sex Change, Blow Up Your Mind, Hard Working Man, Miniskirt Blues. The Cramps, I couldn't recommend them highly enough. Today I took my daughter to the third of her university interview. She wants to do a degree in photography, and my wife's taken her to the first 2. I took her today to Trent, which is now Nottingham Trent University. The building she was interviewed in was 100 yards away from where I spent my university time. Anyway, while she was having her interview, I nipped out and had a good sight. It's changed, they've built the place up, and it's much more modern and progressive looking than it was. But anyway, I managed to pick this up, Bell and Sebastian. It was only £10. It's called Storytelling. It's from 2001. It was the 5th album. It was the soundtrack to a film which was by Todd Solondz, who's a bit sort of avant-garde indie filmmaker, and I believe that it was supposed to be 3 completely unrelated films in one. This was the soundtrack. Apparently I had some difficulty communicating with him, so there's only very small snippets of this actually found their way onto the final album, and in fact he cut a bit out of it that was considered controversial. It was about a footballer who was gay, and but the other 2 films, I think Selma Blair was in one. So I've only listened to half of that. Then I acquired this just after Christmas, OMD, English Electric, Blair, Brett Helm, Life on This Planet blog. Brett's been really raving about this for quite some time, and I finally bought it just after Christmas. There's some great tracks on it. Night Cafe was my favourite. Helen of Troy's up there. And then there's the third from the end track called Dresden. This is absolutely remarkable album, because if you played Organisation and played Enola Gay, and then that went, the next track after it was Dresden, you'd think that it's exactly a return to form with this on that sort of feel. So that's a brilliant album. I've got nothing but decent albums recently, so this was a speculative buy, something my wife gave me. It's Broken Bells. It's their second album called After the Disco, and Broken Bells are, I'll just tell you because I need to remind myself of this, I'll tell you in a moment, Brian Burton, better known as Danger Mouse production, and James Mercer, who's the lead vocalist and guitarist for the Shins. Now this is this is a really good synth album, I think. The first track's the standout track, sort of perfect world scene into After the Disco. Icy synths, very melodic, had mixed reviews, some terrible, some brilliant. You choose. I think it's good. And again, a reason why, if you haven't yet worked out why there's just the artwork alone is better for vinyl than it is for CD, then this gatefold is all you need to prove that. But I could again recommend that one, Broken Bells, After the Disco. When we're in London, went in FOP where I bought that DVD of Gillan, picked this up. My wife had heard a couple of tracks, and it's Boy George's latest solo album called This Is What I Do. Boy George, healthy again for about a third time in his life. I've seen him on a couple of chat shows. He's looking great, George. He's about 18 months older than me, and if you don't know Boy George, other than Culture Club, I think he's a really remarkable character. And I think he had a book which came out probably about 15 years ago now, his autobiography called Take It Like a Man. Double entendre, totally intended, I'm sure. The standout track again is the first track, King of Everything, and it's not a rock album, it's far from it. It's not even sort of dancey sort of stuff. If anything, it's towards reggae. There are 3 or 4 reggae tracks. I've listened to it a couple of times. Really nice packaging again, glossy gatefold sleeve. A real return to form from an artist I really admire. One of the things I like about Boy George O'Dowd, is that his life, if you read his autobiography, is so different to mine. And he's sort of a person who triumphs over adversity. So I've never met Boy George, but I just think he's a really interesting character, and I would like to meet him if that ever arose. Right, final thing I'm going to talk about is this album which came out in January. I'm sure you would expect me to. High Hopes by Bruce Springsteen. Now, I have listened to this several times. It's not an album. It's a collection, and Bruce is in a prolific period at the moment of producing records, almost less than every 18 months, which is fantastic for fans like us. And some people have said it's mixed, but it's not. It's just a collection of really good songs, and it's a first in many ways. It's the first to It's High Hopes with special guest Tom Morello, and quite a lot of the tracks on there are featuring Tom Morello. Bruce has never done that before. Some are recorded in the past. There's a track called Harry's Place, which was written, I believe, and recorded originally for The Rising, but was considered not appropriate. It's about a gangster's type individual. There's some typical sounding Bruce tracks like Frankie Fell in Love, and then the really unusual thing is that there are about 4, I think 3 or 4 cover versions. So there's a track called, the actual title track is a cover. There's a track called Just Like Firewood, play on words wood and wood, WOULD, and then the final track, Dream Baby Dream, by the band Suicide, Alan Vega, which Bruce has closed out quite a few concerts in recent years. Bruce really likes that song, obviously. I can take it or leave it. It's got a great version of American Skin, 41 Shots, a re-recording of The Ghost of Tom Joad, which I believe Clowns plays on. But it's a great collection, and if you like Bruce, you can't but help but love this, and anybody, and it's a great album to have in the car. So hope that's hope this finds you well, VC, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.